What's going on, Weather fans? It's Alex back here with another video. So, if you guys haven't heard about it, last week we received 11.3 inches of snow here in my area. Holy crap. And I told you guys, so what really started happening is at 5 a.m. we already started getting some accumulating snowfall. And then once we got into that 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2 p.m., oh boy, it really started accumulating. And so the weird thing is, it looked like light snow, but it was coming down pretty nicely. And the flakes weren't like necessarily big and heavy. They were very light, very fluffy, not dendritic snow. And around 2 p.m. until the evening, we started getting some big sleet mess. And what happened is on Monday that refroze, and it was awful to shovel that. We broke our snowblower because of how heavy that glaze of sleet and ice refroze on top of that snow. So, oh god, that was not good. But yeah. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys are having a great day today. Beautiful views outside with the snow. Still have 10 inches on the ground. Only maybe half an inch melted away, maybe because of the sun. But the story has been the cold, the punishing, brutal cold, and we're not seeing that ending anytime soon. So, let's get right into things, and we're going to start off with the GFS model here for the whole entire US. And notice we have our very potent Arctic blast really taking hold of shape. 1046 high up in there in the Dakotas. So my god, dude, crazy cold air, and it's just gonna keep on continuing, gonna keep on plunging. Now here's the thing, we have a low pressure system developing outside the Carolinas. This is gonna miss New Jersey, unfortunately, but holy crap, if this thing just shifted 50 miles to the west, we would have gotten absolute major blizzard out of this. And I'm going to show you what goes on here. This is 1 p.m. Saturday, 7 p.m. Saturday. Look at that heavy snow. Bombo Genesis just offshore. If this shifted 100 miles further west, oh my god, we would be talking about crazy impacts. Oh my god, we would be talking about crazy crippling snow. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen this time, but we were very close to it. Now we get into next week. And here's the thing. And you're going to say, is winter over? And I'm going to say, absolutely not. Now, here's the thing. We're going to have several clipper systems to deal with next week. And I think there may be one surprise big snowstorm mixed in there. So here's Tuesday into Wednesday. Maybe a bit of a clipper system trying to affect a bit of the Mid-Atlantic. I think this could become a bit of a snowmaker across New Jersey and Delaware. That needs to be watched. And notice how all these systems, once they get offshore, they immediately start trying to bomb out. We have another one here for Friday, and notice this one is a lot stronger. 996 up there in Canada, I think. 994, 992. So here's the thing. I think once we get into that weekend time frame, this needs to be watched for sure. This could be very interesting, and I say that very carefully because once we get into Friday, 992 millibars, there's going to be some very strong winds with this. And I think we could be dealing with 50 to 60 miles per hour out in the northwest. This could be some very dangerous winds with this system here into New York, into New Jersey, into Pennsylvania in general. 990 over the northwest. That could be a really big wind event to watch out for. And then that energy transfers off the coast. Watch this, 983, not far from the coast, and we have some pretty nice snow falling down. Saturday, 970 millibars, and this thing's just starting to crank out the big winds across the coast of New Jersey, Massachusetts, and into Boston. Now we get into, let's say, 7 p.m. on Saturday. Full out bomb cyclone. If this thing just shifts a bit west, holy crap, we will be dealing with some crazy snows. Obviously, this is subject to change, but here's the thing that I want you to notice. So this is, again, back here on, let's say, Thursday here. It's such a light system, right? Such a light system. And then, boom, once you get off the coast, 990s, 987, 985. And then this system for Friday, a little bit stronger, and it develops into a bomb cyclone potentially. Very strong winds. I'm very concerned about this signal here. There could be some very, very dangerous winds with this. And yes, when I looked at the U.S. Hazards Outlook today, they do have a risk of very strong winds on this day. And it makes sense. These millibars tightly packed together, holy crap, we will be dealing with a very, very major wind event. And that needs to be watched. High pressure dives in right back into the picture. Very brutal Arctic air enters back. And as long as we have this stubborn ridge out here that's really pummeling the west coast, this is going to keep on diving pieces of energy and Siberian air into the eastern U.S. And this is going to keep on continuing your snow train. Here you are for Tuesday into the February 10th. Another Clipper system. And then we may have a bit of an interesting one. Maybe a bit of an overrider for the Midwest. Notice how warm it is. But once we get into the eastern U.S., that changes. It's completely cold. And then getting into Friday, February the 14th, another system. So this February is going to be very, very active. And let me just take a look here at the temperature anomalies. They're ridiculously cold. They're just ridiculously cold, man. And I don't see this ending anytime soon. So let's go back here until let's see, Friday. Okay, this is for Tuesday. Still some cold air. Then your other brutal Arctic shot of cold air comes in for Thursday here at 7 a.m. Friday maybe a bit, and then Saturday and Sunday. Look at that big Arctic air, just mind-blowingly cold across the east. Maybe a bit of a change by the February 15th, but you see another big time Arctic Siberian blast entering the picture from the north. So what does this tell me? What does this tell me? We got an active southern jet. We got an active northern jet. What does that mean? Well, if we take a look at here, even going here, I think the European might have come out. Yeah, it literally just came out. So I want you to compare and contrast the European here, because we're going to also take a look at the European model. And it's going to look very similar. Maybe a little bit different, but again, I want you to notice the idea. These models are becoming a lot more similar. So here's our storm for Sunday. Again, largely missing New Jersey, but holy crap, if this shifted a bit more west, this would have been an insane storm. Now, Arctic air for Tuesday. And you see that little bit of a system for Tuesday into Wednesday. That could deliver a coating to 2 inches for New Jersey and Delaware for Wednesday morning. I would watch out for that. And then that exits out. Friday, again, same exact situation for the European. A little bit of an Alberta Clipper here for the northern parts of the U.S. And watch how that low pressure starts to get pretty strong. It really starts to get pretty strong. 998, 999, 999. And notice that energy transfer again, trying to occur off the coast. This shifts a bit more west. Man, we could be in for one heck of a storm. Again, another major bomb cyclone off the coast. And this could be very interesting. Now, Wednesday looks like a bit of a warmer look. And again, don't trust this far out, but you just get how active this storm track is going to be. And I don't believe this one bit. Why, do you ask me? I don't believe this one bit. Dude, okay. So, the freaking European said it was going to be a blowtorch mid-January. It said it was going to be a blowtorch late January. It's going to be a blowtorch February. It's going to be a blowtorch February 14th, right? Like we're dealing with right now. What is that replaced with? Brutal Siberian Arctic air. So don't believe this BS that you're going to be dealing with a severe weather outbreak for the Carolinas and rain into New Jersey. Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why? Is because the Madden-Julian oscillation, or what you call the MJO phases, 7 and 8, the coldest phases you could possibly be in, the stormiest phases you can possibly be in. This doesn't make any sense here. This doesn't make any sense here. And why do you keep getting these ridiculous cold air shots? Is because that this ridge off in the west, it's not easing up. It really isn't easing up. And 2-meter temperature anomaly, exactly here on the European. Nothing is changing. You get the constant cold blast. And look at that big defined ridge across the west. Look at this. It's just incredibly hot for portions of California. And the Sierra Nevadas are wondering about where the hell is your snow. Man, you're not getting it. You're not getting it anytime soon. As long as that ridge stays out in the west, you're pouring Siberian Arctic air still into the U.S., for the eastern U.S. at least, and it keeps on continuing. See, it doesn't want to let up. Maybe something here for the 14th, a bit of a warm-up, but again, you're still seeing this massive cold air up in the north, and you're seeing that ridge is redeveloping again, and what does that tell me? The polar vortex is completely displaced right now. It's not in the Arctic anymore. It's one lobe is here, and it travels like that. Another lobe may be somewhere up way north of the typical polar vortex region where it's supposed to be. So what you got is usually you have a defined circle in the polar vortex up in the Arctic. Dude, that thing is completely destroyed, and there's like chunks of it just swirling around that main circle, and that's what's really flooding your cold air into the east. Just absolutely brutal stuff. Brutal stuff. And I mean, it really just is crazy. It really is crazy. I will say that. Now, I did want to take a look at the wind gust potentials for these clipper systems that are going to keep on diving through. And I'm just going to tell you that we're definitely going to be looking at a lot more wind going into February. And I already predict that there could be some high wind warnings with these systems because I'm just seeing some pretty concerning signs. So here's for the European for Sunday. Very strong winds off the coast. Thank God you are not dealing with this. However, once we get into, let's say, that Friday time frame, let's get into Saturday, Sunday. Look at these wind gusts starting to pick up on the European. But again, that's not as strong as the GFS. Let's go here, the GFS. For Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, you could get some pretty strong winds for Sunday. Even though if you don't get the snow, you could still see some pretty strong wind gusts drifting all that snow that you got last weekend. Now, let's go here into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Look at that very strong wind entering the picture again. It's something to watch. It really is something to watch. And that 990 system, it may not look like much, but again, this could be something that we need to watch. Because a lot of models say, oh, it's a clipper, but notice how volatile our ocean is right now. And it's just insane how fast it bombs out. And why does it bomb out? Well, okay, so you just have full-on Arctic air for Saturday and then Sunday. Look at that really cold air. Those sea surface temperatures are probably 50, maybe up there near the Bermuda Triangle, and that's going to interact with like 20, 30 degree sea temperatures up in the north. That's why you get a bomb cyclone. That's why you get it. It's because of that instability in the middle that really tries to explode your systems. And notice the pattern I'm seeing here. Even let's take a look at the CMC, let's say. Let's go to the Canadian even, okay? Same exact deal here. Why are you seeing these bombing out systems? Well, if you keep getting these clipper systems out of the north, look, you get some snow, and then you get some intense winds on the backside. And then what does it repeat again? Another clipper system, intense winds on the backside. And then it tries to transfers energy offshore. So again, what I'm noticing here is that this is a very favorable pattern for bomb cyclones, especially this type of year, especially this type of setup, and just in general this year. And it has another similar setup for Cape Hatteras, heavy snow, potentially for your 6th of February. I mean, I can't say for sure, but again, the pattern is like constant clippers dive through and they transfer the energy off the coast and they try to become major storms. I think one of them will do it. One of them will do it for the eastern coast and New Jersey and Long Island and Massachusetts. One of them will do it. We got several to as much as multiple chances of seeing major storms. However, I think one or two, we will still see one or two more significant storms. If it's not from the bomb cyclones, it's from these overriding events like the GFS is saying. Exactly. These overriding events, I think people underestimate how powerful they can be. Last weekend was an overriding event, foot and a half in portions of New Jersey. Absolutely ridiculous. And we still got a foot of snow. Unbelievable, dude. So, overriding events, people are saying, oh, it's just, overriding. How bad can it be? It was a foot of snow for multiple counties in New Jersey. Really just wild stuff. And then, again, what I'm noticing here, and this pattern is relentless. It doesn't matter if you look at rain or snow for New Jersey on the 15th. It just shows you how freaking favorable this pattern is for major coastal lows to develop. And it doesn't matter if you're seeing rain here. It just matters how volatile, extremely volatile your atmosphere is, your ocean, your instability, and your constant Arctic highs coming out of Canada. If that Arctic high sets a perfect placement and up shop in the Midwest into Ohio Valley, that will force up the low pressure to go right up the East Coast. And I have a feeling one of these could do it. And again, we're entering that notorious time of Valentine's Day. Either a week before or a week after, you get an extremely major system. Last year was a major wind event that brought some big time damage across New Jersey. 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, relentless throughout the night. That was last year. 2 years ago, that was a major, I think that was a snowstorm. 3 years ago, it was a snowstorm. And dude, I'm telling you, this Valentine's Day period is something that's getting so common here. There's a major storm always brewing for this time period. I've never seen a year where we haven't seen something before, after, or even on Valentine's Day. Something's gonna happen. And I don't think it's just gonna be rain. I think it could absolutely be a major snowstorm again, like history repeats. So anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. I'm really watching out this pattern. Really watching it out because I think the models are trying to sniff out something that the East Coast is going to be hyper active for February. And this pattern ain't ending anytime soon. I don't see that ridge breaking out at all. I don't see that ridge stopping. Maybe eventually as we get into mid to late March, that completely flips for the eastern U.S. Probably will. But until we still see that ridge for the west, we're going to have multiple shots of Siberian air entering through the eastern U.S. What's going to cause? Overrunning events and bomb cyclones here. So this is definitely a pattern that I just feel could be absolutely insane and hyperactive. As you're seeing for the Carolinas tomorrow and Sunday, we're going to get a major snowstorm, a foot 18 plus inches for these areas. This is going to translate north. Trust me, during February, and you're going to say, oh, it's so freaking rainy on the models. Do not be surprised if you start seeing some major bomb cyclones and some major overrunning events that produce extremely significant snows for these areas here. I'm going to circle it right here and box it out. These areas in particular, I think you're going to have an insanely good winter this year, and it doesn't look like this is ending at all. It really doesn't, and this area in specific, I think is going to do really, really well. So, I will see you guys in the next video, and have a great rest of your day. Peace out, y'all. And again, stay safe out there.